Thank you, Secretary, we're here. Thanks for being here. Very much appreciate your leadership, and I think you just cited some figures about the economy that are really important. Real wages have been growing under this administration and after the implementation of the bill that we passed. Very different from what we saw under the Biden administration when people were really feeling the pain of the rising prices because wages didn't keep up. So grateful for, as I said, your leadership. One of my priorities in the big, beautiful bill was the Section 199 deduction, making that permanent. I've heard from businesses about how that's affected their investment decisions when they have that permanency ahead of them. So, and how they're doing is really important to every community that they reside in. And so I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish. I do want to very quickly, another of my priorities was direct primary care. Employers in my area using direct primary care as a way to provide better access to health care. We wanted to ensure that contributions to HSAs by employees are tax deductible. That was in the bill. We also wanted that to extend to employers, and I think there's some question about that as Treasury is putting together their guidance on that. So I just wanted to hear from you whether you agreed and whether you could assure us that Treasury's guidance will allow that to be deductible for businesses as well.
We are working on that, and that has been, HSAs have been a very powerful tool, and we've seen the take-up 37, 40-something%. So we will work on that and get that guidance out, sir.
Yeah, I hope that we go with that initial intent, which was to make that deductible for employers as well. So thank you for that. Wanted to, you had, I have to pull this up, the statement you made in regards or during the discussion with Schweikert in regards to the debt and the markets that I thought was really good, and I wanted you to expand on that if you would. You said, and I maybe paraphrased just a little bit, but to assure that we have a regular and predictable issuance and cadence, people who are buying Treasury bonds, whether it's U.S. households or foreign central banks, they have to be assured that we're serious about getting our debt and deficit numbers under control. I know you really care about this. I certainly do. I feel at times like the American people don't fully understand the impact of the debt on their economic activity today, but the threat going forward. So I'd love for you to expand on that a little, talk about why that's important and what are the steps that we could be taking in Congress to address the debt and the deficit numbers.
Well, Congressman, let's look at a little bit of history, and this is MIT's numbers, not my numbers. MIT believes that almost 50% of the inflation we saw during the Biden era was due to the size of the deficits. So first of all, for the American people, not only does it affect the interest rates, our ability to issue debt, it also affects inflation. When you have these roaring deficits, money goes into the economy, and what the Biden administration did was they you had a demand shock through giveaways, but then you constricted supply with the regulatory state, and that's how you get inflation. And this administration is doing the opposite. We had a fiscal contraction for calendar year 2025, and as I said earlier, we are cutting regulations, so we are increasing supply, whether it is energy for services. So that is why core inflation is down more than 0.5% since President Trump came in.
One of the things we're talking about in the Budget Committee with Chairman Arrington is a resolution that would set a goal for Congress to get to a 3% deficit to GDP within the next decade. This has bipartisan support. We're hoping to see that support grow. You've talked about this. You've set a goal of wanting to be at a deficit percentage of GDP starting with 3 by the end of the administration. I wonder if you could talk about the importance of that goal as well in just a few seconds I have remaining.
Yes, sir. I came out from behind my very comfortable desk and am here today because I was concerned about that trajectory. And I do believe it is possible to get back to the historical level of 3% deficit to GDP. And while that is not a balanced budget, if you have nominal growth above that level, you are paying down debt.